Okay. Hello, everyone who's watching, who will be watching us in the pre-recorded video sessions. Hello, Jody. It's really
Hello,
a pleasure to
Kris.
have you here. My name is Kris. I'm from Aggregate Intelligence, which is the mother company of StorTrack. And obviously, StorTrack is the giant in the self-service industry business intelligence. We have a regular webinars with Jody. So Jody is a great expert from the self-storage. I am not. So Jody is coaching me to become an expert in self-storage industry as well. And today we're going to be talking about the budget, right? So school's back in the session. Is it school back actually in America?
Oh yeah, probably the end of August, beginning of September. So
Okay. So school is back. That's good. Summer's over, definitely. Maybe not in Florida completely, but definitely.
it's
Halloween
it's
is just around the
Florida.
corner, and so must be the budgets for next year, right? So
Yep.
today we will be talking about the budgets. Just a quick explanation of what StorTrack is. It's a global leader in business intelligence for self-storage industry. So basically, we do the hard job of getting a lot of data that is really time consuming for any human being to do so. We collect things like products, prices, availability, information about the market, about the marketing, and we bring it up in our user interface, which is optimized, which is saving a lot of time. It helps action when we need it, and it helps us to be faster in reacting to what's happening in the market. So today, we will be talking about how to gear up for the budgets. And the gear up means that we will not talk about the traditional approach for budgets, where we look at the operational side, P&Ls, costs, and we design the budget. We look at some additional things that we can do with the budget. And with that, we had a little help from Mr. Scott McLaughlin. Why don't you, Jody, introduce Mr. Scott McLaughlin for our
Yeah, and I don't think Scott's on the webinar today, but Scott is based in the U.S., a self-storage operator with Century Self-Storage Management. He's the executive vice president. He is a StorTrack user, and he has been kind enough to give me some quotes and offer some insights to using the StorTrack product that we have, which is called Optimize, and a few ways that he has used it to help him with his budgeting. So we are going to touch on all of his tips today and share those with you.
Okay. And the way I thought we will work it out will be that you will teach me what Mr. McLaughlin is doing. So maybe I could become more advanced in self-storage industry. And I think it's going to be really interesting. So according to Mr. McLaughlin, there is some traditional and operational aspects of planning and creating the budget for next year. Obviously, we need to review our previous year, make sure we have all the productivity, all the activity analyzed. Usually we do that using the information from the data from our property management systems. Obviously, strategically, we need to set up our goals and the targets for next year, and then try to figure out the changes in the demand that will be happening on the micro and macro economic level. But we will need to analyze from our property management systems the rent of our units we have, the occupancies, the number of habitants, etc. And then we would estimate all the cost side of our business. What were the costs last year? Is there any investments that we're planning for next year? We look at the resources that we have, third-party companies that we have, and then we produce the budget. And then we get the approval, obviously, from the owners, etc. And then we need to change it. But Mr. Scott also adds these two ingredients into the budget planning. And because they are from a revenue management perspective, it kind of got me really interested as being someone who has experience in revenue management. And these two things are to review the competition, which is really, really important right now to make sure that we understand what competition is doing on the market, and to set some revenue and rate management goals for ourselves as well. Because as we were discussing before, Jody, we tend to plan budgets many times and very often based on the previous years. And if we do it year on year based on previous year, we kind of like probably on the increasing path, but we are from the previous years. And the market is changing a lot. Situation on the market is changing a lot. Competition is changing, and all that is driven by the changing customer and customer behavior. So the revenue management aspect into the budget gives it that a little tip that makes it a really interesting. So when we've talked to Mr. Scott, and we've been asking him about what does that really mean, that extra gear, he gave us these 3 extra steps that are needed, that he's actually using Optimize to spice up the budget. And these 3 things are: identify the supply and competition, review price trends, and analyze price volatility. To me, they all sound very familiar because they're really revenue management focused. They all come from analyzing the external information that we're able to access through self-storage. So we're going to go through a few examples of these 3 steps that are suggested by Mr. Scott. And Jody will try to explain me how do they work and what is important there that can actually be concluded. So what I'm gonna try to do is try to understand what Jody is saying, and I will try to make my own notes and see if I can make sense of it. Because if I can, that means anyone else can. Jody, you ready for that?
Sure.
Do you think we can try?
I think we can try. I think we can do it.
Okay, let's go for it then. Identify supply and competition. So let me guess, that's a map.
Yep. This is simple. This is just starting, the overview of where your competitors lie in distance to yourself. So in this particular map here, the center point is the orange or the red, and you're looking at how many competitors are around you in a market. Typically, I think most self-storage operators kind of go a 3 to 5 mile radius, unless you're in a very rural area, and just identifying the competition, like I said, where they are, is a big step in knowing how close they are, how far maybe someone's willing to drive, and knowing who your competition is.
Okay. One thing that I noticed here, many of these Google points here go along the yellow lines, go along the roads. That must be something particular for self-storage industry, right?
Yeah, and I think we talked about the UK earlier too, and it's kind of a lot of people say in real estate, self-storage also, location, location, location. You want easy access. You want to be in, highly populated areas, or this particular case, they're right around a university. So we've talked before about student populations and things, and so that's why that may be important in looking at your market and your competition.
Okay, so that's very interesting. Let's see. Let's see what else Mr. Scott identifies in Optimize that helps him spice up the budgets.
So Optimize is an interactive platform. Here, we're just looking at a screenshot from that. But again, identifying your competition, we found them on the map where they're located. Now we can actually look at the facilities, their address, the distance that they are from your store. You get a lot more information here and looking at how many stores are in this market. I believe this one was set at a 4 mile radius. And we're looking at 26 competitors within that 4 mile radius. We're also identifying that 10 of them are the REITs. So your REITs are in this market. 8 of them are multi-operators and 8 are single operators. So as we go through some of this, I think you'll see that the pricing strategies vary depending on what type of operator you are.
Type of operator. Okay. So I understand that this is obviously we needed to a blanket, but these are the different types of operators. These are the different products that they offer. If it's a green tick, that means what? Is that available?
Yes. So a green check mark means we are finding that their unit pricing and that unit type is available on the website. So we show a green check mark.
Okay, so the red cross, the red X is not available.
No inventory, not available, probably means they don't even carry, so this top one doesn't look like they have climate control units, that they only have regular or standard storage.
Okay, that's very interesting because very quickly, even by color, you can tell who's got a lot of products and who's not. So, for example, I can immediately see here that these guys have a lot of products, right?
Yep, a lot of inventory, a lot of different unit types. So
and
that
a lot of square footage as well. I think that almost the biggest player here. We don't see the bottom of the screen, obviously, but out of the few that we can see, this one seems to be very large, lots of product, and also I can see here we're talking about price volatility already.
Yeah, and that would be for that particular store. We'll show more trends and more percentages as we go on here.
So the less products, the less price volatility, right? 0, 2, and the big ones go 34.
Yeah.
That's
the other thing to point out is the eyeball. That
pirate eye.
The pirate eye, you call it. Our Halloween eye is, that means that there was inventory available on their website previously, but now they're not showing a price. So again, considering the budgets and considering your supply and demand, this particular store looks like they've run out of 5x10s, 10x10s, 10x20s, 10x30s. That's a good key indicator for you to look at your market and see what's going on.
That one seems to have a lot of products sold out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let me see what can I deduct from this side. When I obviously we looked at horizontally store by store, but if I look at it vertically, I can see that the red side of our display, where the bigger units are displayed, I can see that they either not available or they either sold out. And in particular, it's for 10x20 climate control, 10x30 climate control, and 10x30 regular. These three types of products from that market that we have selected here seem to be in some sort of demand because not much of supply is behind them.
Correct.
Is that a good conclusion?
Yeah. I mean, you look at that, the large units are, there's a lot of inventory that's off the market and in demand.
So basically, if you are these guys, and obviously they may be big, they have this product available, but when you can see this display and see that others are not available or others are sold out, it's very easy to make a pricing decision to increase the price because the supply is low, right?
Yeah.
So maybe that's why they have 30%, 34% of price volatility, because they are using this type of information to manage the prices and adapt the price to the demand. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a note that 10x20 and 10x30 climate control are in small supply, 10x30 regular is in demand. It's sold out. It gives me a quick overview of what's happening with the supply and with the competition. So I guess if Scott is using this this picture, it kind of gives him a lot of insight into the budget, because now he can plan strategically where to focus on, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's another screenshot with some more information. What do we see here?
This one's based more on inventory availability. So in this particular market, we're able to look at the bar graph here, and you've got a key on the bottom that shows if it's in green, that means that that unit is on the market, that size and that type of unit. And if it's red, it's off the market. So again, you can look by individual unit types if you're focusing on specific units to see what's going on in the market. And like you said before, you know, if you have a lot of inventory on the market, the price may be more competitive, maybe changing or adjusting lower. And if there's a lot of inventory off the market, it might be an opportunity for you to look at price the other way.
Exactly. But so I see it's quite easy to read. If you see it green, that means available. If you see orange or red, depending on the screens,
right,
it's not available. What is interesting from the my analytical point of view is the proportions of green and orange. So whenever you see a lot of green and low orange, that means that there's still a lot of availability.
a lot of
No
supply.
matter how much they sell. But if you see a lot of orange and very few green, that means this is becoming tight. It becomes constrained demand, as we call it in revenue management, and therefore this gives the opportunity to manage prices. A lot of green gives opportunity to sell, but a lot of orange gives opportunity to manage prices. So by looking at that, if I just focus on a couple of things, first, I noticed this one. It was for the first time that I looked at this screen. I looked at that part. And what it says here, correct me if I'm wrong, Jody, it says that the market is at 55.7% level available. So all that green here that we see in the graph bar below is about 55.7%, right?
Yep.
Okay, so that means that if it says my store, that means my store is 75% available, right?
Yep. So
yeah,
that's a lot more inventory available at this particular store right now.
So unless I'm the biggest player on that market, I can actually start thinking that someone else is taking my customers because they start to fill up anyone else at the average of 55.7, but not my store. And then when we look at the breakdown here, you can see that the REITs are kind of highly occupied. They have 60% of availability, right? And multi-ops only 42% of availability. And then single ops have 94%. So sorry, it's not REITs, it's actually multi-ops that sell out the most.
In this case, yes.
So is it possible all the single ops, all these small players, they actually have a lot of inventory available?
And again, in this case, yes. And, you know, that's something where you would drill down further. Maybe there's only one single operator in the market and they're a brand new store. They just opened up. So they've got all this inventory available. So yes, obviously they want to, you know, have a good pricing strategy. You may look at this from a year and their property has leased up. So you don't know all the insights until you, like you said, can drill down a little more. But in this particular example, the multi-operators, you know, whether it's depending on the size of them, their features and benefits, or their pricing strategy, they have the least amount of inventory on the market right now. So.
But it's possible to drill down, right?
It is. It is.
Okay. Well, that's great because, you know, another conclusion that just came to my mind, if it is like you say, if this is one or two players behind the single ops and they maybe just have reopened, etc., that means that this average is actually a lot lower and it's probably closer to the multi-ops side. So leaving me with the 75% of availability, that gives me a lot of opportunity to plan for the next year. I got a lot of inventory to sell, and there are some ways for me to think about how do I sell it.
How do I take over some of that market share? Yep.
You got to fight for market share because before you can fight for revenue and you know, the higher prices, etc. So it's a very important message for your budget. And obviously, we're talking here about an example, but this is how I would analyze that sort of picture, which probably Scott is analyzing on if not on daily, then on weekly basis in order to plan for his budget. So my take from here will be, let's market average is fuller than my store, and multi-ops are like kind of a key in selling their inventories. So that's one takeaway. Is that a good one?
Yes.
Good. So another thing that I was looking at, coming back to the graph, is again, if you see a lot of orange, which means where we can optimize prices more, is within the 1030 climate control, 1030 regular space. With the 1020 that we've mentioned before, climate control, we do still have some availabilities. So that big player probably still has a lot of them. But here, the ratio between what's available and what's not is quite distorted. So these are important to pay attention to. I think there's one more 10 by 15 regular, where there's more taken, more reserved units than there is available ones. And these are probably things to focus on, because it would help planning for the next year, our sales and marketing strategies. And what comes after that is the budget behind the sales and marketing strategies that we can pick up. Fantastic. Here's another good looking screenshot of crosses and ticks.
Yeah. Again, just on the top gives you the percentages of the units that are on and off the market. And when we said you could drill down a little more, now we have grayed out the self-storage names on the left. So this is where you actually would see, which stores have that unit available, where before we were just putting them all in a bar graph to say 8 stores have availability. Now you can see which of your competitors actually have that inventory available.
I can drill down to a one by one specific store to see who has what to sell.
Right.
Right. Fantastic. So my take from here is, obviously it's a bit scattered, but on the left-hand side, it's quite green, and on the right-hand side, it's quite red. And this comes along with the other slides that we've been looking at, that a big competitive environment is to the left. This is probably what we will call a rat race. And then to the right is kind of a blue ocean where there's a lot of opportunities to take. Obviously, the demand for the right-hand side may not be as volume oriented as the left-hand side, but this at the right-hand side, this is where the money comes. And obviously, for us, planning the budget, planning the sales and marketing strategies is not to decide whether we want the green or the red. It's actually to decide how much of green and how much of red we want to have, and how do we assign the resources to and the budgets to fight for for both of them. Because obviously the target customer looking for a cheaper and smaller storage will be a different one to the target customer of the bigger and the more expensive ones. And I'm sure these to the right will be less price sensitive. And that gives us an opportunity to manage prices. Managing prices gives us opportunity to get more revenue, and more revenue gives us an opportunity to reach our budgets in an easier way, because we all know that year on year, all the budgets are tighter and tighter. So my note from here will be that we crowded in the small unit section. We're less crowded in the larger unit sections. I guess this is a good takeaway from that. It will help me. It will help me in the budget planning. Now, I said it before, and I will say it again. This is a really great screenshot, because it's looking at the marketing activities analysis, and I have seen that before, so I know. But why don't you, Jody, explain what's in here, and then I'll tell you why I like it a lot.
Yeah, so we were still talking about competition and supply, and part of your competition is knowing your local market, what's within that 3 to 5 mile radius or whatever you define. And StorTrack has something called a marketing scorecard that we have designed and use here, looking at websites and seeing how the websites are ranking out of a 100-point system. And this way you can see your store against a competitor and see if there's areas for you to improve. We all want our websites to draw new customers for us, the goal to get more rentals. So if you have these tools to look at where you can improve on your marketing or improve your website, something that's awesome.
Yes, exactly. I absolutely agree. What is being done here is an it's actually an e-commerce evaluation of yours and competitor websites, and that's a tremendous value to have that, because from what I know, marketing is one of the biggest tools in the self-storage industry, right?
Right.
So getting the marketing right means we get the communications to the customer right. But in order to get that, we need to know what's working, what's not, what competition is doing and what they're not doing, and how to allocate budget behind the marketing. So we can know where to invest in the marketing. Such a large term. There's so much activities behind it that it really is important to get to know to the the nitty gritty of the actions. And what we can see here, and what I have been able to notice, is that on the left-hand side, we have an evaluation, for example, of a website of its own. So the maximum scoring points is 25. And then according to a criteria, what is important is not really how we evaluate that criteria, but it's important that we apply the same criteria equally along all the website stores. So whatever the points, the scores are, they are actually based on the same criteria. So if I'm 11 and if someone else is 21, that means that it's not really based on my subjective feeling. It's based on the algorithm, proprietary algorithm that we have created in order to measure these websites. So I can see here, being my store, that having 11 out of 25 means I'm not the worst, as I've seen worse, but also I'm not the best. And there is something that I need to probably allocate in my budget to make sure I can revamp or upgrade my website. I also have highlighted things like search and social media, which are typical e-commerce activities. And the reason why I highlighted them, because I see that the level of advancement of mine and of my competitors is quite low, or it doesn't exist. And therefore, this gives us an opportunity to change something. So a lot of times we're saying, middle of the year, we're saying, where are we against the budget? So we're missing to the budget, this and that. And then we start brainstorming, what do we do in order to catch up and reach the budget by the end of the year? So this is something that you can do now for next year. And this is one of the things where you can invest, given that your search and social media are in the weaker position. So these should be the core things from the marketing perspective to invest in our business, so that we can compete equally or maybe even better with our competitors. My conclusion kind of makes sense. Are they making sense, Jody?
They are. And one thing I wanted to point out was with the website score, something that I've seen that you can do to bring your score up is most recently, a lot of websites now have the online renting, particularly with COVID, where you don't even have to go into a store and you can rent a unit now. So that's going to be one of the features that helps rank up that website. Also things just like video. Do you have a video on your website? Certain things like that helps you drive. And as you pointed out is, again, from a budgeting standpoint is, how are you doing on your marketing, and looking at where you are now and where you want to be next year, and do you need to invest some money into your website or into some marketing or some technologies that are going to help move you forward.
Right. I think I remember from a few of our first webinars, you were showing me, Jody, one of the stores that was making pictures of all the items so that I could create an online catalog of the things that I have in storage.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I think right. I think from the e-commerce perspective, from an online perspective, this is huge because, as I was saying, I am a customer of self-storage as well, and I'm paying per month some money for my store. I think we calculated it's about 100 square foot unit I'm renting, and I'm paying for that every month. And obviously, at the end of the year, when I do my budgets, I'm kind of seeing that line in my cost line, and I wonder, what do I have there? Why do I pay for that? What do I have there? So every year I go to my self-storage to actually double check and get rid of it. And I can't, because it's all sensitive stuff. I don't remember it, but it's all sensitive. So, having an online catalog would at least save me time to, make a journey to my self-storage and unpack everything and pack it back again, because there's no way I can throw it out. So I think these online things, and especially now where everything has boosted up by 4 years in terms of online development, schools are online, shops are online, food is online, everything is online, self-storage is online as well. So making sure that this e-commerce works is going to be a key of success for the next year. I think I can predict that, although I'm not from the self-storage industry myself, but I can predict. My prediction. Right. This is another thing that Scott is looking at in terms of reviewing price trends.
Yeah, here again, this is looking at a particular unit type. We're looking at the 10 by 10s, and at the top of the screen, it can show you the current lowest price in your market, the average price, and the highest price.
Wow.
So you had talked before about the difference in pricing, the dynamic. You don't know, there would be some feature and benefit, I would assume, from this huge price range from 49 to 185. But then you also have a graph here, a nice graph that shows you the competitors and your store against them, the graph line here, and each of the prices in the market for those that particular size.
Oh, wow, that's incredible. I mean, if you look at that, the lowest price, and if you look at the highest price, it's like 4 times.
Right.
So that's a big price range that you can manage the products, and that's for the same type of product, right?
Yeah, this is based on a 10 by 10 regular or standard. Like I said, I would think it needs a little more investigation. You might want to find that one is called Austin Park and Storage. Could be that the facility is not even gated, or a lot less amenities there, that they're able to have a low price for that. So, but it would certainly be worth looking into to find out why the price is so low.
Okay, but the point here is, from the revenue management's perspective, is you tend to think that the customer always will be willing to go for the lowest price, which
Right.
is not true, because they can actually go for 4 times more of the price if the value is behind that product, and that value is not just the price, it's everything else. So that's a great insight. If you're looking at a 10 by 10 regular to be the cheapest, you can find it. But if you're looking at the value, and if you care about if you're sensitive like I am about my stuff, then you probably want to be spending a little bit more to make sure that this is, I don't know, in a warm place, I guess. The other thing that I have noticed here is this: why do we have such price ranges here?
Yeah, like you said, is it about your value based? Is there some people could, I guess, have one closer with a drive up storage door feature, or one that's way back in the corner? Not sure on that right this second.
Well, that's a very popular revenue management technique, value-based pricing, which means that not only the price is different between the suppliers, actually one supplier can have different prices for the same product depending on what value that product has, right?
Okay, yeah.
So that's really impressive. Some of the players don't have value-based pricing, but I can see there's 2 of us really going forward with the pricing techniques. So I'm going to take that Some of my competition uses base pricing to differentiate the crowded area, because if they are in a smaller section, this is where you kind of can escape from the lowest price. So you're going to keep the price lead always, but you will escape from that price lead by giving more value and upselling your customers to a higher value product. This is something in terms of my budget that if I use it, then I can think it's great. I should use it more probably. But if I don't use it, my competition uses that kind of technique, I should invest in exploring if I can do that as well. And maybe through a consultancy, or maybe just on my own, brainstorming the team, trying to figure out what are the values and the benefits we can apply to the same type of product in order to have a few levels of prices. So that's a good take for my budget, I think. Okay, we've got another review price trend graph. Looks like my EKG. Not the brown one.
Okay, and you're not flatlining?
No.
That's good. That's good. This is probably my favorite graph out of Optimizer that we have from StorTrack. And this particular one we're representing here at a year. You do have the option to go from 5 days to a year. And for this topic of budgeting, we thought it would be good to look at the year in perspective, and showing you the black line does show the average rate. It is an interactive grid when we're in the platform. So as you scroll across, you can see the price changes in the market from your store to all your competitors. So a lot of good information here.
Right. From the revenue management perspective, I mean, this is a great graph. I mean, I don't know who's the green one, but you can really see the periods where they are increasing the prices and decreasing the prices. I take it will be the big one because it's always available. So they may have a lot of inventory to sell, but you can really see how they go from 100, less than 100 to over 150 in the price range, and they switch it on and off, probably depending on how many requests that they have for that kind of for their type of products. Obviously, you will see also less dynamic players. Like this green one would always have one price. In April, they increase the price, but it's still the same. Then they probably realize it doesn't work, so they decrease the price to the previous year, and now they continue to go on. Always available. I guess there is not much of science in there, but it's also quite boring from the customer's perspective. You need to attract. Price is one of the things that attracts customers. So if there's a discounting like Black Friday, it really drives people to buy. People actually save for those periods of time. And we know that in self-storage, all you got to do is just acquire a new customer, because once he's in, just like myself, he stays and he cannot let go. Hopefully all the customers are like that, guys. But you can see really the different pricing techniques between the players. And so you can predict, what are you going to do with the prices for next year based on the historical behavior? And also you can predict what the competition will be doing next year. Because to be honest, if you can see the brown line, I mean, probably there's a high probability that next year they're going to have the same price, right? Or even if they change it for next year, it's going to be, one price. So I agree, Jody, this is a great graph. I'm impressed that you can go 1 year into history. It's a big benefit to be able to get all that historical pricing. I cannot imagine what you would have to do manually in order to get that, like, every day noting all the prices, noting on the prices, put it in Excel, and then try to figure out a table or a pivot that would show you that kind of graph. So, and this is like a click of a button, right?
Yes. And then this mark, or that, there's not as much seasonality here, but I know like in Florida, we definitely see,
right.
spikes. We did say there was a university in here, so that could also be they raise prices when the students are moving out around that March and April time. And we've also seen some changes from COVID affecting the historical rates throughout this year.
One thing that I just noticed, Jody, also, yeah, I agree. Seasonality and figuring out seasonality is really important if your market is seasonal. I'm not sure you can see my cursor right on the screen.
Yes.
So, and I'm not sure how well you can see the screen because sometimes the resolution. But if you see that green line, right, and then you can see the gray line. Have a look at what's happening here. These guys are obviously they are on a higher level, but these guys go in the prices, they drop, and then the gray guys drop. So the green guys drop here, and the gray guys match that price. And then when the green guys goes up, this goes up. When the green guys goes down, there's a reaction here effect, but a few days later they drop the price. And so is in here. They increase the price, the gray guys increase the price, and then they drop it a little. They're always keeping that margin behind them. So you can see, I would not be surprised if they're StorTrack customers, but you can see here, and then again, you see they go up, so they go up. So it's kind of like price competitiveness. It's great because you if the competition knows that you will be reacting with the prices, they will be more reluctant not to do crazy price discounts. Right, so you can still share the same market, but at the higher level. And at the same time, the gray guys don't stay at the low level like some of the others. They increase the price as well. So if the green guys have opportunity to increase the prices, they are not afraid to do so because they know that the gray guys will follow that. So it's kind of benefiting everybody based on the demand that is out there. So a great graph, great opportunity to actually analyze that graph and have some conclusions. So here's another one for reviewing pricing trends.
Yep. This one we call the all units pricing. It's a simpler bar graph, if you will, but it does give you the black bar gives you the range from the lowest to the highest price of that. And then your store is plotted on the graph in the orange, and your competitor there that you select, you can actually select from your competitors. You can either do it the closest one by distance, or if you're looking at a particular competitor, then it'll plot it in green. But you can see the ranges of like the price we talked a little bit before. Is how is it that one unit goes from $29 to $150 in that market?
Exactly.
And like you said, plot your strategy. If you want to be lowest price, you're going to be on the bottom of the graph, the highest price on the top. Or if your strategy would be just to stay in the middle, rent units. So this gives you the opportunity to look at that.
I can see that now. I think I'm not looking at the table anymore because graphically it shows great. You can see this kind of triangle opening up all these bars. The bigger the size of the unit, the longer the bars are. And I think that one of the key takes from that graph is that you can see where there is competition and where there is low price, the price that bar is low. The further to the right you go, the longer the bars you get. And that's what we call pricing flexibility and the ability to adapt a different range of prices for a same product. So obviously in your pricing techniques, budget plans, and strategic planning, there is a lot of pricing methods that you can apply on the higher level. You don't apply them on the lower level because nobody will buy, 5x5 for $400, but people will buy 10x20 climate control for $400, but they will also buy for $100. And you got to know when to apply that price so that it sells. I mean, without such analysis, you will be blind. You will not do it. And maybe this is like an explanation of why some prices change 0.2% and some other prices change by 34%. This could be the thing. The analysis behind the prices, making sure that you can change these prices in a smart way and for the right product, for the right customer at the right time, which is all what revenue management is about. My take from that is the largest price flexibility is in the larger unit sections. I can accommodate that into my budget. And whenever I do my revenues, whenever I do my costs and investments, this is what I should take into consideration. For the budget perspective, it just gives me more actions, more specific actions behind the budget. We can obviously plan the budget to be, plus 10% versus last year. And how do I do that? I don't know. It's going to come out in the wash. Or I can actually plan specific actions that will help me reach that budget.
Yep, based on the unit types. And
exactly. The granular you go, the more chances to reach the budget you get, right?
Yep, and this is simple here. Just looking at the promotions as we would with price.
Okay.
Promotion in the storage industry, I think you can see here represented out of, I believe there's 7.
Yeah, 1, 2,
8.
3.
So what? 6, 7, or 5 out of 8 are offering some kind of a promotion. So promotions would be something you would want to track and review, looking into your budgets and knowing what's going on either with your use of promotions or your competitors' use.
Okay, so I know that promotions in the self-storage industry are very important. They are the key to customer acquisition. So most of units are using them. We can actually see what kind of promotions they are being active with. It's great to have it all in one picture instead of going to 8 different websites and trying to rewrite, copy and paste these promotions. But what is also important here is to understand what kind of promotions are out there and who's doing them. Because sometimes maybe the ones that are not promoting, not having any promotions, maybe these are the guys who are selling the larger units where the price sensitiveness is less. So they don't need to discount. What they need to present is the value and the uniqueness of the products that they have, which many have. And maybe the promotional wise, and what do we have? 4 months to half off, 1 month rent for free. To be honest, you got to be a mathematician to understand which one is the best, right? It's kind of code. For me. I'm an analyst. I'm an analyst, not a mathematician, and so I would have to really calculate what works best for me. I'm sure customers do that as well, but also the ones who are not having any promotion are kind of interesting from my analytical perspective, because I wonder what kind of products do they sell. So obviously I assume you can drill down to details and get that understanding.
Yes.
Okay, my take away from that is that promotions seem to be the key key customer acquisition trigger. And then for my budget, I can plan them in a really good way. And what is important is that all these things that we're looking at today, we will combine them together in our conclusions. So there's no way I can have a missing e-commerce, missing parts of e-commerce or website and spend money on promotions, right? There's no way I have a promotion on my website, but I don't have availability. And so all that kind of comes together in order to make the right business. And the budget will help me do that, because the budget becomes the guideline then for me. I know what time of the year, through historical pricing and the trends, when to apply promotions, when do I need a boost, help from marketing, which products I can price higher, and all that goes through the marketing, communications, etc., social media, etc. So all that contributes to the budget, additionally to what we traditionally do, which is to go year on year with some dedicated increase. So now let's talk about price dynamics. That's very important as well, especially that coming from Europe and UK market, the price dynamics are not so heavy as they are in the United States. What can we see about price dynamics here?
Yep, dynamics, and we use the term volatility at StorTrack, basically meaning how often the prices are changing. Could be up or down, doesn't mean that they're always increasing or decreasing, could be any change in the market. And then across the top there to give you an overview of your market, of the 26 stores that we're tracking, the market average for price dynamics or volatility is at 13.7. The particular store for our example here is not changing price, very little, less than 1%. And then you look in this particular market, which I believe is in Texas or Austin. So there's a heavy REIT presence, and the REITs are changing the prices the most often there.
Okay, I think that's a great conclusion, Jody. By looking at that, I think I have highlighted myself this. Obviously, you remember the slide where we had 75% of availability versus 55. It's the average market.
Yeah.
Could it be related that if I don't touch my price, my availability keeps available?
Yes.
I think this is it. And
looks like a parallel assumption there. The one thing I do notice on this graph is that this store, the price starts in January. So again, it could be brand new to the market. Could be a low introductory price, or you know what I mean, that they're keeping their prices low. I think we saw they weren't using promotion. So maybe they're going in with a low price strategy, not discounting 50% off 4 months. You know, right now it's not a big in volatile changes, but certainly something that, you know, as it gets established, they may want to change that for next year and looking at the budget.
Exactly, if they are aware of that, right? And there's no way you're going to be aware without having tools that will help you conclude and make such analysis. I mean, they can be as volatile as 14%, or actually they should be volatile in the beginning more than anyone else because they've entered the market.
Yeah.
And you can't explain that I'm not going to change my price because I'm not going to discount, because you already entered in a kind of a low level, right? Over here. So I think the ability to be aware of that gives you a great opportunity to plan in the budget your pricing techniques. And we always think of the budget as a source of increase your revenues and incomes, etc., and saving on costs. Actually, if you have opened up, like they seem to be, a great spot, but if they have opened up, maybe they should dedicate more of the budget to invest in the business, invest in the brand, and invest in the positioning along all the other markets. I mean, we have 26 stores in that area. So that's a lot of competitive. That's a lot
Very
of
competitive market. Yeah.
You know, you can't have the lowest price and think that you're going to win it all. I mean, we also seen that it's not always about the lowest price. So I think this gives not only the ability for the budget to plan for more revenue, but actually to spend more money as well in the way that it will bring you return on that spend. My take is we should all follow REITs. We may not be in the same type of business, but it seems like REITs know what they're doing, because actually their dynamics, their volatility is at a 23% level. Even if we compare that to one single op, or even if we compare that to multi-ops, the difference is too big. I mean, it's like two different worlds.
Yeah, and again, it's gonna vary from market to market. Wouldn't always say to follow the REITs or follow the multi-ops.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just talking about this particular.
In this case, yeah.
Obviously, you're right. You can't just listen at the topics. You got to read the content. Yeah, guys. So don't take my words and advice as the general ones. We're talking about specific market and trying to analyze that particular
those trends and find the things that will work for you.
Exactly. So another slide for unit type volatility this time.
Yep, and this one shows which units where the price changes are the most. And that could also have to do with some of the graphs we looked at earlier with availability. The more units that you have available, you may be trying to find that sweet spot for that rate and changing it. So you might have a higher rate volatility there. But it could also be if you have, a limited supply of units, you may be driving that price and changing that price more often. So it gives you an idea of which units are the most sensitive to price changes in this particular market. Again, I think a couple of the large, the 10 by 20, the climate control units seem to. There you go. Yeah.
I noticed that too. These three products have a volatility of above 20%. So
right.
We were talking about a new entrant on the market. They started in January. I hope they started with some products from within these types, because that gives them the ability to manage prices more. Right? Some of them are quite stiff, and we know that the cheapest ones are most competitive ones. The smallest ones become the cheapest ones, and the price flexibility there is not so small. But these products, if you're an opening into a new market, you got to have them so that it will help you increase that volume of revenue based on value and based on targeting customer that is less sensitive to price. Yep. So my take is some price increases are over 20% within the last 12 months. And one last slide, I think, that's a very detailed one.
We're kind of looking at price and promotion in this view, which is nice. As you had said before, sometimes you have to pull so many different reports or charts to try to get this information. And here we're able to display the unit size for you, features, if it is climate control or ground, and showing you the advertised online rate, when the price last changed. So again, you can see the 5 by 10s, changing in September, changing in October. If you use an advertised, if you use a walk-in rate or a strike-through rate, we're able to display that for you. And then the use of promotion. So you're able to see this, again, in a historical view. This view, I believe, is up to 90 days to look at, the different types, prices.
Cool.
Promotion, everything here for you.
Wow. I just realized like these guys change prices every 2 weeks. So that's 1st of July, that's 13th of July. Yeah, forget about these small things. Then there's 30th July. And then probably there was vacation. So they did the 9th of August, and then 2 weeks later, and then 2 weeks later. That's really funny. I mean, you can tell so much from analyzing the data and figure out how your competition works out, that you can always be one step ahead. You can always be faster, and you can always action where it is really needed. You don't have to try to see in the dark of what to do next.
Yeah.
Great. So I have a summary here on the left hand side. That's Scott's summary, where he talks about identifying the potential, the supply and competition. He talks about reviewing your prices and reviewing price trends and price volatility in order to help up with the budget. And what we have done with my notes here and my try to understand the data that we've been showing, the example of data that we've been showing here, we try to understand some action points for me to actually get on the budget and start working on it, knowing that where the strong demand is, knowing where the most flexibility of prices are, knowing where the most competitive we are on the left-hand side with the smaller units. Understanding promotions and communications is very important at some points of time, and I know which points of time. And also, I know that I have to revamp the websites, an e-commerce approach, in order to make my communication a lot stronger, not to lose the impact of what I have. And if I can have the ability to increase or decrease prices plus minus 20%, then hey, I mean, think about your revenue. Even if it's part of your revenue and you can increase it by 20% just by having a price dynamics, that's a great result. I mean, This is really great. I totally understand Scott now. So thank you very much, Jody, for explaining me all. Obviously, we used screenshots from StorTrack that helps you know what you should know in your business. And I think even not being a specialist like I am, I could really, you know, apply for a job now. What do you think, Jody?
I think so. I think you would be able to make it in the storage world.
Okay, thanks for being very positive about that. Thank you, everyone who's watching or who will be watching the recording in the future. Please reach out to us. We'd be really happy to hear from you, your questions, your suggestions for the next webinars. Maybe you want to participate with me and Jody and have a discussion about some things. We'd be really happy and open to do so. Contact us at info@stortrack.com, or you can contact Jody at stortrack.com. We're kind of running out of time, but I'm not sure have we had any questions from the session, or
I didn't see any in the chat or the Q&A, so unless we didn't enable it, but I don't see anything in there. But like you said, please feel free to reach out to us afterwards, and we'd be happy to answer any other questions you might have. And thank you for your revenue management expertise, Kris. Puts it in perspective for some of us here.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, Jody, and thank you everyone for participation. See you on the next webinar.
Thank you for joining us.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.